So we just got back last evening from Big Bear. We went up there to celebrate Thanksgiving. And it's the first time we've ever done anything like that before. It's always been just hanging out around here. And kids are totally fine, by the way. Please, by all means. I have kids, I understand. And it should remind us all to not take any of it too seriously, too, right? Isn't that part of the whole thing? It's not so serious. But we got back from Big Bear last night, and I was joking with Mary a little bit because this is my first time ever having shoes on for real at a current collective service. I've been wearing Birkenstocks and going barefoot for every gathering until now, and so like I'm here, but I think my body's still on the mountain a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm kind of adjusting. I was wearing these hiking around, and today I put them on, and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have to wear these if I don't want to, you know? And I was a little insecure about it, and I asked Lindsay, I'm like, hold them up, I'm like, which one, you know? She's like, wear the boots. I'm like, dude, I'm wearing the boots. And then Mary's like, I have a friend coming, and she was asking what the attire is. And I'm like, did you sell her on the bare feet hippie preacher? Damn it. Not today. Not today. Doc Martens that are older than my firstborn today. And she's almost 11, so if that's helpful. But it was a great trip up in Big Bear, and even though Lindsay was sick like the whole time, we've had this thing like it's just been sickness, it just floating around. It's like we're all passing it to each other. I don't know. I went to the doctor 2 times, and she told me I'm not contagious for anything. I'm starting to not believe her at this point. But Lindsay, she had a fever the whole time that we were in Big Bear. And it was a bummer, and but it wasn't at the same time. We would still get out and do stuff, but I started going out every day and doing these hikes at this little trail nearby. And, up on the elevation, I didn't realize like how short of breath I am. I'm like, I know I'm 35, but I go to the gym. I shouldn't feel like this, I'm like short of breath. I'm walking up this hill, and I get to the trail, and I start to walk on the trail, and I'm like, dude, I'm freaking winded. I think I'm going to go home now. It's like Forrest Gump, when he's like ready to go back. And I don't know, I just felt like a little burst of energy to just keep walking on this trail that I'd never been on before. And I continued to walk around, and I finally came around this bend, and it was this like beautiful big view of Big Bear Lake from up there, And I was like, wow. I'm so glad I didn't stop, And then I proceeded to like film myself making a cheesy video about like when you feel like you should stop, you got to keep going. And I like laughed at myself making the video like this is really dumb and very cheesy, and I'm going to not post this on the internet for anybody to see because then it lives there forever, and you have to deal with it. And so I decided for that moment to put my phone away for a second and my Walkman that I got, listening to some good old cassette tapes. And rightfully so, Paige says, but do you have a cassette player? And at that time, I didn't. It was still on the way. So I had my cassette tape player or whatever. And I was like, forget trying to make content right now. Forget trying to do anything. And also forget being upset that, like, my family's sick right now, and this trip we've been planning for 3 months is here, and I'm out on the trail by myself. That wasn't the plan, And I just sat and looked at this view, and then gratitude just began to rise in me just for everything as it is, Even grateful for all of it. And as weird and like not Western mindset it is, fine. For the sickness, fine. Like for everything, fine. For it all, fine. It was just this deep gratitude of acceptance for all as it was as I was looking at this beautiful view of Big Bear Lake. Low-key freezing, but that's okay. But it was great. Still frost on the ground early in the morning. And as I sat there, I started to remember, though, the times that I didn't feel quite this grateful, And some heavy thoughts started to come up for me. Because 2 years ago on Thanksgiving, I was not in a great place. It was, eventually you start collecting dark nights of the soul. You know what I mean? You go through your first dark night of the soul and you're like, woo, I made it. I think I'm on the back side. And then another wave comes, and then you make it through that one too. And then all of a sudden now I'm like, halfway through the 30s and I'm like, I'm collecting them at this point. And now I am just like, when I start to feel that come on, I'm like, why fight it? You know what I mean? What do you got to teach me this time? Dark night. And you just start to accept it and move with it. I would say you surf the wave of it. I tried surfing a couple different times and blew my eardrum out 2 different times doing it, so it's hard to use surf analogies without feeling bitter about it now. But you begin to learn how to ride the waves, You start learning, okay, like a set's coming. All right. Now, apparently I couldn't learn it very well enough, but we'll see. Give it another whirl. But you start to feel these dark nights of the soul coming on, and you just accept it. And you just have, at this point, I feel like there's a degree of trust. It's like, okay, there's something here. It's not all going to work out like I wanted it to. It's not all going to look like it. But it's okay. But a couple years ago, I was in a dark night of the soul. I had just gotten done being involved with some projects that weren't taking off. And they were all cool on the outside, but were empty on the inside. Like, just completely empty. And I remember whenever I was unplugging from that project, just feeling this like reverent sense of like, I don't know what I'm going to next. And so 2 years ago I was in this dark place, and it just felt like though it had been lingering even before that for a while, and all that next year. And it was like one of those years where just like it didn't seem like anything could find any momentum, any groove. Nothing was happening. Like I couldn't try to do things that I even didn't want to do. You know what I mean? And I'm married. I have 2 kids, and the responsibility that comes with that. And this moment sparked back in me whenever I was there at the viewpoint of like, I know we don't have childcare today, but it's a little maybe deep here, but I remember being like, it'd probably be better if I just wasn't alive. You know what I mean? Like, if I didn't have this responsibility of people in my life, like it'd probably be better if I just wasn't here. You ever felt that way? And then you get to this gratitude point where you're like, man, I'm really glad that was just a thought, So I was reflecting on that and being grateful for where we're at today and what's happening today, and learning through all of those moments of how valuable things are. Because even in that dark time, it's like I realized I had the learning now in retrospect was like, gratitude is not transactional. You know what I mean? Like, I look back and I'm like, one of the biggest lessons from that dark time is like, you can't positive vibe mantra your way out of a really crappy situation. You know what I mean? But there is something to be said for keeping yourself with a degree of hope, but sometimes there's not, man. Sometimes it's just despair. Sometimes you do have those dark thoughts. Sometimes you do think maybe it's better if you weren't here, But one thing that's true that was taught, I feel like, through that time is this practice of meditation, where it didn't matter what was or wasn't happening. I sat down every morning, even when I was mad about it. You know what I mean? Even whenever God or whatever that is, I remember being so mad one time. And, I've really been focused on this path for many, many years. And I remember I cracked though, and I was just pissed off in the kitchen. I'm just like whatever divinity is out there. I started to get kind of definitely, and I do like some Gnostic texts, but I'm like, whoever made this world is definitely got us all in bondage here because I am in prison, and it feels like that. I'm like, Yaldabaoth is definitely the ruler of this. Little nerdy thing there for you if you're interested in, early 2nd century Gnosticism. But I just had that cracking point, but I immediately felt this sense of like, just keep going. Just be grateful for what is. And I sat down in meditation, and some mornings there was nothing to be grateful for. Like nothing. Like there was stuff that was so not going well in that season of time. And I chose to sit down anyway. And I don't tell you this because I'm like trying to make myself to be some great, holy person, okay? I'm just like you. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. You know what I mean? But it's like when I sat in meditation, I was trying to really put into practice this sense of the gratitude for just the fact that I'm breathing in and breathing out right now, that I'm here right now. And what began to take place over some time is I began to see how much I was expecting God to do something for me if I held up my end of the deal of doing all of the things on the checklist. And I didn't feel like I was getting my end of the deal, and it was pissing me off really bad, And eventually I started to see that transactional piece of how much in my life I am looking for transaction all the time. It's like, if I do this, you do that. And it's always this like back and forth kind of thing. But what I learned about gratitude through that time is that it wasn't grateful to try to then get something else in my life to manifest better, quicker, faster, whatever. It wasn't to get all of this stuff. Gratitude, the feeling itself, was the gift. It was the gift. Love to try to get something from it was not it. The feeling of love itself was the gift. That's what got me through. The vision, the vision boarding or whatever you want to do, and the visualization, the secret's great, you know what I'm saying? But visualize it, but it's like the gift of even being able, the hope it takes to visualize, that's the gift in and of itself. That you're not even sometimes in those places of despair, you don't even have the creative ability to craft what a possibility could look like for the future. The gift of having even the vision to see a possibility for the future is the gift itself. And when that feeling, that experience starts to integrate within you, you don't need all the carrot dangling on the end of the stick anymore that's getting you to do all the stuff. You realize it's been in you the whole time. You've had it the whole time. The presence has been with you the whole time. And there's actually something, like I wrote in the Sunday letter, it's not magic, but it can feel like it, You're like, you start to orient your life differently, and then all of a sudden, things do begin to come around you. But it's only after that perseverance. This is just coming to me, and fair warning, it's just surfacing. So take it if you want it, disregard if you don't. In Romans, Paul says, stick with me, that suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. And to balance it out, the first noble truth is that life is suffering, dukkha, right? But it's more so the sense of unsatisfactory, right? It's that nothing in life is satisfying. And if we're consistently looking for the satisfaction to come, we'll miss it every time. We'll remain in that place. But when we persevere, character is shaped. 2 years ago, I would have never had the shaping and the character that needed to be shaped. I would have never tasted the hope that needed to be tasted if it wasn't for that moment in time. Without transaction. And I will say everything did begin to change whenever I dropped the transaction bull crap. You know what I mean? It was like, no, like being in the presence of the truth of who I am in here is enough. And when that happens, things do begin to come around you. And there's actually, I won't pretend to be like a full-on neuroscientist, okay? But I read it in a book somewhere that there is some neurological makeup to confirm this very woo-woo truth of you create your reality. And it's this bundle of nerves in the base of your brainstem called the, get ready, reticular activation system. I know, right? Smart. Or as us in the science community call it, RAS. I'm totally kidding at this point. But the reticular activation system at the base of your brain, it's this bundle of nerves, and it's responsible for creating the algorithm of what you see and experience in life, because it's sensory overload. If you can't take in everything all the time, you'd explode, I guess. I don't know if that's scientific or not, but my guess is that that's what would happen. And so this bundle of nerves, reticular activation system, is choosing all the time what's important, what's not important. It's sorting through even whenever you're not conscious of it. It's your subconscious mind. It's sorting through things. Yep, not important, important. And this is why, too, like, when you're going car shopping and you're like, I think I want whatever it is, all of a sudden, you start seeing those everywhere on the road. That's your reticular activation system at work. You're like, I remember years ago, it's like 2009, whatever, I wanted a Nissan 350Z, and I had a real job so I could actually finance it, And whenever I made the decision that's what I wanted, all the cars turned into those on the road. I'm like, dang it, I thought I was going to be unique, But you start to see it everywhere. This even is in language. You start to, all of a sudden you pick up on like a word the kids are saying these days, right? Like, my daughter, she's in 5th grade, so it's like things are like skibbity and, whatever. And all of a sudden, like, I overhear it in Trader Joe's. Why did my mind pick up the random skibbity toilet thing over here? It would have never before. Why? Because my attention, my conscious attention from having a conversation with my daughter about what the hell is this, created in my bundle of nerves a ear for it. Now I'm hearing it in places that I would have never heard it before, right? This is why gratitude is important, because if we are seeing our life in ways that we don't want to be seeing them, maybe not fully, maybe there are external circumstances, but could it be that this is the way you have programmed yourself to see and experience the world? And you have the invitation to co-create a different algorithm if you want to. It's available to you. It's neuroscience, man. You can do it. But over time, you rewire your brain, the algorithm, with gratitude instead of frustration about this and that. Instead of picking apart your partner about all the things that are irritating you, you shift your mind to all the things you actually love about them, right? Now you begin to fall in love with them again. I didn't fall out of love with someone. I trained my mind that I needed something other than what I had. You know what I mean? You rewire yourself that way. You begin to have gratitude for what is. And that begins to quite literally transform your reality into what you are wanting to step into. And then you wake up and you're hiking up to the top of Big Bear and you look and you think, well, damn, I'm glad I chose gratitude 2 years ago instead of the other options available. And I'll end with this is this most simple way to do this practically, because if I say it, it's cool and it's great and we all feel good, whatever, but practically speaking, to actually integrate this into your life, to actually make a difference, is I think best summarized by a medieval mystic named Meister Eckhart. If anybody likes the medieval Christian mystics, some stuff's far out and weird and a little too Catholic churchy for me, and some stuff I'm like, dang, that's some transcendent stuff right there, But Meister Eckhart, most people quote Meister Eckhart. They don't actually read Meister Eckhart, and I learned that the hard way. Start reading him, I'm like, okay, I get why we just pick some of these, out from him. But he said, if the greatest prayer you ever said in your entire life was thank you, it would be enough. If the only prayer you ever said in your entire life was thank you, it would be enough. And I believe that meditation, it clears the slate of our mind for the creative imagination of prayer to come, to have a conversation with the divine, to shape things. I love language, I love words. My Mercury's in the 5th house, I dig that, I understand. But the most simple way to quite literally rewire yourself is in every circumstance, in every situation, no matter what is or isn't happening, thank you. And it could even be not even verbal. This goes beyond words. Thomas Merton, I love, he said, communication is a lot less about communication, but more about communion, And when you commune with that resonance of thank you in your life, that's what begins to shape reality. The gratitude frequency is the ability to say thank you. That's how you create that algorithm. That's how you shape your life. Thankful, because gratitude and thankfulness are similar, but they're different. Thankfulness is it's per instance that's happening. I looked this up, by the way, too, because I'm like, what is the difference? You know what I mean? Gratitude's a state of being. Thankfulness is about certain things. When somebody opens a door for you, you say thank you, right? And over time, you say, man, I'm grateful everybody's opening up the door for me, But that moment by moment circumstantial thank you creates the algorithm for the being of gratitude, So if the only prayer we ever said thank you would be enough, get creative, get elaborate with your words, pour out your heart in those spaces of intimacy with God in those places. Absolutely. But the ground note of all of that is thank you, Even whenever you're sorting through, even whenever things don't make sense, even whenever stuff is convoluted, it dovetails back to thank you, and that's how gratitude becomes your state of being, and your life transforms in accordance with that. Everything starts to come around you then, and you wonder, how is all this, why is this happening? Why is that happening? Because you have dialed in with the cassette tape. There's a AM, FM on it. You know what I'm talking about? It's like when you dial in to that frequency, that's the music that starts to play. And the way you dial in is by thankfulness. And then you can set the dial there, and the music that plays through your life is gratitude. And everything then comes around that, and people are wanting to do things with you. And the people that aren't, like last time we talked about, what attracts, and what repels. And you begin to have a deep acceptance for whatever waves come and whatever waves go. You know what I mean? So, as we end with that today, that's the simple, practical way, is the art of being thankful, the prayer, the feeling, the embodiment of thankfulness creates the gratitude frequency in our life. So just want to end with a closing prayer as we often do. So if you join me in standing, as we wrap today, there's just a couple things. And I suppose this is the woo-woo, it's part of the woo-woo part of it, because I believe there is a spiritual dimension that is at play here. It's something I thought about talking about too, is, in this prayer of on earth as it is in heaven, that this isn't like actual places somewhere necessarily. It's the heaven means the sky above, actually, and it means the spiritual dimension, the spiritual realm. That this physical reality would be transformed by the power of the spiritual dimension. And so even now as we close, I invite you that whatever I have said or haven't said, that you invite that spiritual reality into whatever earth you are walking in right now. I don't know what season it is in your life. A couple years ago, it was that deep, dark night. There's really joyful season now. Whatever you're in right now, that you would invite that spiritual dimension of gratitude, of an ability to see from a higher vantage point, that even when things aren't clear, that you have faith and trust and hope to continue to take one step forward today. Especially for those that feel real despair right now. I just ask that the presence would bring comfort to you. That as Master Jesus calls the Holy Spirit the great comforter, that you would be comforted in the time of unknown, that you would have hope in a season of despair, that you'd have the ability to continue to walk the path that you're walking, and that thankfulness would rewire the algorithm of your brain to see goodness all around us all the time. I ask right now for eyes to see and ears to hear the presence of the spiritual reality that is always at hand, not just in a space like this, not just in a quiet meditation time in the closet of your room, but everywhere you are, the ability to see, to hear, to feel the presence of divine reality. May that be our algorithm. May that be our way of living and moving and having our being. We say, so be it. Amen. And I understand some of this could be deep, and it's hard to just be like, well, have a great lunch. See ya. You know what I mean? If you need space, you don't have to just split. Feel free. You can sit in the chair, linger as long as you want. We have this space for another hour. It's okay. And if you need someone to speak with you, to talk with you, to help integrate whatever it is that's going on right now, we do have people around that can help with that. That's the point of creating a community and creating a space, is that, you're not just swiping through seeing inspirational things that you don't know what to do with. You get to actually be with someone and have someone speak into your life, and you can speak into others as well. We're all just walking each other home, It's not mine, that's Ram Dass. I have to give credit where credit is due. We're all just walking each other home, and that's what this space is. So with that, take time, take space if you need to. Grab something from the resource table on your way out. But please, even no matter what, connect with somebody here. Connect with somebody. Again, if you made eye contact with somebody, it doesn't have to be weird or awkward. Just say what's up. Connect with them. Say hello. And we are looking for some people to continue to help us facilitate the space. If you have gifts, if you're a musician, we've had music here before. If you are a sound healer, if you have whatever it is that you want to contribute to helping this come into fruition, 2025 is going to be an awesome year. We're also needing somebody to really help with our kids' care. We were going to have that today, but we've had a couple seniors help out at Carlsbad High, and they're awesome. They're awesome. Sometimes things come up, whatever, and it's cool, it's cool. But if you know of someone who really has a heart for kids and, I don't know, doing some kids yoga with them or something fun, or just being with them and making sure they don't absolutely kill each other, send them our way. So say hello to someone and have a wonderful week, and see you at Books and Brews, and next Friday, yes, whatever. On the 15th, we'll be back here again. Have a wonderful Sunday, friends.